Hi, hello, hi, and welcome to all our hearts and minds. Thank you again for tuning in. We are here to discuss all things that have been on our hearts and minds, the good, the bad, the concerning and uplifting, or just straight talk. We're your hosts, Kimi, our passionate heart.
Yeah.
And then there's me, Jeanette, our mind and chronic overthinker.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Please.
All right.
Yes, we're back again.
Back again with another episode. Yes. So we're recording end of March 30th. Our last episode went up late, but it's okay. We're coming back to you again quickly with this one this week. Before we jump into headlines, let's go to our checkup. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing a lot better this week. Recently
Yes.
we had a loss in our family, and so it's been a little difficult, but I'm choosing to be grateful every day, because every day you should be grateful. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but overall, I've just been putting that into practice this week, and it's nice that it's a short week for us here in Toronto, seeing that it is Easter long weekend, and I'm so happy with that we have this little piece of time off. Like, trust me, it was needed, well needed.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
overall, family is still good. We're still holding in there,
Yeah.
and yeah. So how about you, girl? What's popping? What's going on?
Well, first of all, condolences. I don't know if I said that last
Yes,
week,
you
but
did. Yes,
I
you
did.
did.
Okay, but now it's kind of you've gone through the
Mhm.
funeral and moving on. It's tough. So
Mhm. Mhm.
somebody who's been through it, it's just time. It's just time and prayers and stuff like that. And I think you're going in the right direction. So yeah, so for me, I am doing better. I
Mhm.
think it's been a long quarter.
Mhm.
In the business I do think in the business quarters, like I think like some, depending what kind of job you have. I think most people when you have a job and you're close to the financials, you think
Mhm.
about that. My first job in university was an investment company. I thought in quarters then too.
Yup.
So so
Mhm.
this first quarter of the year is done and we're about to go into the second. And you know what? I didn't give myself much of a break for work, and I had a really
Mhm.
intense quarter. So
Mhm.
I'm going on vacation, so I'm looking forward to that. Going to be in sunny Jacksonville, Florida,
Brilliant.
and get some vitamin D, like from the sunshine.
Right?
And yeah, so looking forward to that. And just everything is in the past, and looking ahead for Q2 after my vacation. But otherwise,
Yes.
I
Mhm.
thank God. Oh, my mom turned 75, so thank
Yes.
God
Big
for
up,
that. She's
mommy. Yes.
three quarters of a century. So, I'm appreciative that she's still here because, some
Yes.
people don't
Big
make it
up,
to this
mommy.
age. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Mhm.
all good. All right. So, it sounds like we're doing okay
Mhm.
by the grace of God, and that's all we can rely on, right?
Yep.
And
That's it.
so, yeah, before we jump into the headlines, I'll just do a quick reminder. Everybody listening, everybody in range of my voice, if you're liking what you're hearing, if you're not liking what you're
Mhm.
hearing, we ask that you rate, subscribe, star, like, download our podcast wherever you consume it. Whether
Mhm.
it is Apple Music, please comment and star and like and download, or Spotify, please comment, like, star, or download, and YouTube and everything else in between, because you can get our podcast everywhere. And I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. So wherever you
Nice.
consume it, like it, start, engage with the podcast. It really helps us. So thanks again for
Mhm.
listening. And so now we will jump into the headlines.
Mhm.
It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but we are focusing on some of the hot topics that
Yes.
has been people been chattering away with. And first, before
Mhm.
we get into the mess, we just want to acknowledge actor Louis Gossett Jr., who
Yes.
passed away recently at the age of 87. He is, one of those distinguished older black actors.
Yep.
Every time he was always an older actor. Every time, by the time I saw him, as
Mhm.
a kid. But one of the movies that I was reminded from his work and when I kind of went back and looked him up, is An Officer and a Gentleman. And that movie came out in 1982, but it's one of those
Mhm.
movies where he actually won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And it's
Mhm.
one of those movies where it used to come on TV a lot. So that's the only reason why I'm so familiar. Like, even when even
Mhm.
if I didn't know the title, but when I went and looked it up, I'm like, I've seen that. I've seen Richard
Mhm.
Gere and him being an asshole, like commanding officer and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, but he's one of those actors who's done a lot of things, but his standout things were Officer and a Gentleman. He was also in Roots, that show from the I think
Yeah.
Roots was 70s or 80s, I think. He was in that. Yes, 1977 was Roots. He was in that, and he won a award for his part in that series. And most recently, actually, where I saw him and who's actually did a good job, he had a supporting role, was The Watchmen, which was a HBO show based on the same comic book. And he played Regina King's father or grandfather. I can't remember one or the
I
other.
think it was her grandfather, but
Did you watch that?
okay. I did. I do remember it vaguely, but I could be wrong. But I think
No,
he
you
did
could be
play.
right. It would make more. He wasn't older. It might have been her grandfather. So yeah, which was most recently. And anyway, so
Mhm.
they didn't disclose the actual cause of death, but he was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2010 and it was detected early, so he was able to
Mhm.
beat that. And he also, in the early, I was looking up on Wikipedia, in the mid 90s and early 2000s, he was very sick and actually was only given
Wow.
6 months to live. And you know what it was? This is scary. They later found out that it was his illness was due to toxic mold in his house.
Oh my
Can you imagine?
god.
They literally gave him a death
Oh
prognosis
my
because of toxic
gosh.
mold. So, I mean, to me, when I hear them, like, how can people have mold and toxic mold and not know? Because mold has a scent, mold
Yeah,
has a
and a very
smell.
distinct scent too. Like,
Like, when a place is moldy, it's like, even if you can't see the mold,
mhm.
you could
You
smell it.
smell it. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. But you
So,
know, some older houses, like sometimes I don't know. I don't know. Depending on the house and how old it was, it might not. I don't know how
yeah,
you
because
can't
imagine
smell
it's that
that.
house in Malibu. Maybe it's a big house, and
I
maybe
don't
he's not
know.
there.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
and
there's parts of the house he didn't go to.
yeah, but it was still in the vents and stuff, right?
Exactly. Because once mold, oh Lord, once mold gets its hands in your house, it's done. It's
Yeah.
done once it gets in the vents and through the airways and stuff like that. So,
So
oh well.
he nearly died of that, but he had a long life, 87.
Mhm. Mhm.
Amazing work, and RIP to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna move on to recently. I was talking to Kim about this.
Mhm.
So Offset was on Club Shay Shay, and as people have been saying, Club Shay Shay is our new Wendy Williams.
Right.
I'm not gonna feed into that. No, but Club Shay Shay is where we get a lot of good, I would say, discussions with people in the culture and hip hop culture,
Mhm.
black culture, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We have like whether it's sports, whether it's hip hop music, whether it's
Excuse me. Mhm.
comedy. Can't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
He's taken over in the comedy, so it's probably started with sports and the like, but it's quickly moved to comedy and art and musicians. And I've been enjoying it a lot because he may not be the interviewer people want. He ain't no Oprah, but he's still always a good discussion. And I feel like people enjoy speaking with him. And it's always good to see an interview
There,
when.
there is
Mhm.
something about Shay Shay that people just want to talk.
Or is it the cognac?
Well,
Well, not
you
everybody drinks on
and
who's.
sometimes they sip very little of it. So,
Yeah.
but well, that kind of speaks to your cognac. But anyway, I'm not even going to go there.
No, but that's a good point.
But
Yeah.
he does definitely allow people to talk, and so I think
Hmm.
they take advantage of that. And sometimes, they do say like if you let people talk, they will. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If you just
Hmm.
sit back and let them speak, they will. And so that's what he's good at. And Club Shay Shay, yeah, I saw the other day. I think he 3 million. I think he has subscribers now,
Well,
and I want to credit that to Cat Williams.
Cat Williams, come on, we know.
bust down the door for everybody on Club Shay Shay, because now it seems like Club Shay Shay is a hot commodity. Everybody wants to go on
Club
Mr.
Shay.
Club Shay Shay's program, and I like it. And you know what, he is very kind of, really innocent. Now, I
Yeah,
don't want to
no,
say
I know what
innocent,
you're saying.
but
He's like very like no, but I know what you mean. It's like
he's
he,
lighthearted and kind
yes, yeah,
of that southern hospitality
like
kind of,
jovial,
you know,
jovial.
yeah, very much so. And so I think, sometimes people just need that.
Yeah,
And
and I think the southern thing kind of helped with the interview that he did with Offset. So with Offset,
yeah.
I left that
Mhm.
interview. It wasn't too long. It wasn't a 3 hour interview. I think it was about
Mhm.
just over an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. But I think what I appreciated from Offset's interview with Shannon Sharp was I like that, seems like Offset is committed to upping his artistry levels as a solo artist.
Yeah.
He's taking it very serious. He wants to be like some of his, I guess I don't want to use the word idol, but people he aspires to be like
Mhm.
Michael Jackson. He talked about Beyonce as
Mhm.
respecting Beyonce and all the greats on stage. So it's like
Yeah.
we know it's easy, and I like that he kind of hinted at that. Like this music thing, you could do this music thing. That's like that's easy, but the performance element now that's where hip hop is lacking. And I'm glad that he acknowledged that.
Yes, and that he is,
He
trying
wants to
to
fill that gap.
excel. He's trying to
Hmm.
excel in his craft, and I can appreciate that. I didn't watch the entire thing,
No, it's okay.
I'll
Yeah.
be honest, but Offset is actually kind of cute.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it, because you know what, I never
What
really
what
heard
did
him
I tell
speak.
you? What did I tell you yesterday?
I never really heard him speak,
I was like, Offset was something was Offset.
Something was given. Something was
Yeah.
given. No, but
I think it's the maturity. I think the maturity is making.
I think you know what, I never really heard him speak outside of rapping. To be
Mm,
honest, like I didn't really hear him in an interview, and
mm,
he sounds quite intelligent
oh.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a lot of big goals for himself, and
Mm-hmm.
he was very candid and at times vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and I was
Yeah.
like, that's a nice side to see of him, because to be quite honest, outside of the three amigos, like I didn't really pay attention to him per se. Like, and then when he got with Cardi, it was like, okay, well,
The relationship
yeah,
drama.
use Cardi's man, use
Yeah.
Cardi's man. So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it was nice to hear him speak. It was nice to hear him talk so highly of the greats. He's like, I follow the greats. Like I
Yeah.
follow after them, and he truly aspires to be something great. And I think he'll achieve it. I think he
I think
will.
you will.
Yeah, I do. Mhm.
Okay. I think a couple things that I
Yeah.
was just gonna call out before we move on that I so outside of the maturity and his aspirations to be a top hip hop performer and entertainer, he also mentioned the music business and kind of like the issue with
Mhm.
TikTok and streaming and very knowledge, and he's probably had to learn this since he's been trying
Yeah.
to move away and make sure set his business up right, which is another thing he brought up is like, I want to set my business up right where I am not, at the disadvantage and I'm making money. I have 5 kids. I
Right?
want to build wealth for my family and all
Right?
these things I think all come down to maturity, like we
Right.
just said. So, and another thing I kind of liked, and maybe he, excuse me, requested this was they didn't focus on the drama and negativity of his and around his relationship with
Mhm.
Cardi, and maybe that was a request where that didn't come up too obviously, but I kind of like that they didn't go into that.
Right. Yeah, I was waiting for because Shay Shay can be messy at
He could
times,
be
right?
messy, and I think that's why I feel
So,
like they requested. That's why I feel like the only reason they didn't tiptoe around that is that there was like a probably a caveat in him doing the interview, and that we're not gonna. I think the only mention of Cardi B has to do with a comment that Joe Budden made about female hip hop,
mhm.
and I think it was not necessarily the relationship, but more like the Joe, some
As
drama
performers, yeah.
as
Mhm.
performers, which again kept it on the business side. So
Mhm.
you know what, I
Mhm.
actually appreciated that. We hear
Yeah.
enough about their relationship in social media anyway.
Mhm. Mhm. Way
So
too
yeah,
much.
kudos to Offset and good luck on his tour.
Yeah.
Okay, next is a big one. Whew. This Nickelodeon documentary,
Ooh,
I did not.
Lord.
It's called Quiet on the Set. I did not watch it, and I don't plan to watch it
Nope. Me too.
because, I mean, I saw the trailer like a few weeks, like a little bit, I don't know, about a month ago
Mhm.
before it was. And I already knew I don't want to watch it because I'm going to say something very cynical. I hate to see it, but my assumption in kids who work in the entertainment business is that a good like a an uncomfortable percentage of them are most likely in appropriate situations with adults. That's like right off the bat. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say right off the bat, 30%
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
Right off the
And
bat.
yeah, I would have said 40.
40, yeah, like you know what I mean? I don't
No,
want to
because
sound
when you
too
look at all the child stars that are from the past, right?
they
Like
all have stories.
all have stories, and some of them like never recovered. You know what I
And what's
mean?
but here's the consistent theme, whether we're talking about the ones that we've heard about who have
Mhm.
already from older generations, and the ones that I'm kind of hearing from the headlines and the articles that have since come out since this Quiet on the Set came out, is I'm going to say it and we have to acknowledge it, and I think it's a number one thing is parent neglect,
Yeah.
parental neglect, even with
Well,
the
yeah,
and
and pimping. These parents are pimping
hmm,
out these kids.
hmm.
Straight goods. Let's keep it a buck. A lot of the times, it's parents that want to trick off on their kids. Like they want the life, they want the fame, they want the money, and they use their children to do so. And a lot of them end up stealing from their children, as we can see in the past as well. A lot of child stars have had to, pretty much like divorce their parents
Yeah.
and become their own, independent
Well,
guardian.
I have something about that. There was a I heard a podcaster talking about some of the main kind of plot lines in the documentary, and one of the things that Schneider guy, the head guy who he didn't the I would say the trailer is a little bit misleading because it makes it seem like the head guy was kind of like the one who doing like the pedophilic stuff, but it's not like directly to the kids. But there's some weird things happening for sure, like gross in terms of the content and some of the things that the kids are doing, where they had a lot of innuendo. But him himself didn't like, or at least that we know of, based on this documentary, like touch any of the kids or whatever.
Mm-mm.
Not that it says much, but yeah, to your point, is he encouraged some of these kids, like say Amanda
Yeah.
Bynes was one of
Mm-hmm.
them, to
Mm-hmm.
emancipate from her parents
That's right.
because the parents, if a parent is protecting, what I think another theme is with these predators is if a parent was involved. So you see, there's parental neglect, or like you said, people pimping out their
Mm-hmm.
kids, which definitely was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have some of the people, the adults at the company, encouraging
That's
and
right.
wanting control of some of the talent
Yeah.
in telling, like, okay, so example, they encourage Amanda Bynes to emancipate from her parents,
Yeah. Look at her now.
right? Ooh, yeah.
It's
So
scary. It's
very
scary because
scary.
she it's like she fell from grace so
She was so
hard.
talented. She was
Yeah, she was
so
really
she had
talented.
she could have been, I don't know, it's not going to be a good example, but I think in terms of, if we think about what's her, the redheaded girl, Lindsay Lohan, she went down too. I think Lindsay Lohan kind of had a similar trajectory
Yeah,
of a
and I
child
think
star
it
as
was
well.
a lot younger for Lindsay as well too.
Exactly, right? But
Yeah,
I think with Lindsay still kind of did. Lindsay did had a good run before she
yeah,
kind of fell apart. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Lindsay did at least 5 or 6 movies
yeah.
between being an actress into being a young adult before she kind of fully fell apart, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But then Amanda Bynes, I think, only did, like, she did her show. I think she did one movie as a teenager,
No, I think she did two movies. One where
maybe
she
two.
played like
The
she was
soccer player,
the soccer player, and there was
yeah.
another one. It was like almost a Cinderella type of
Okay, okay.
remake, but yeah, no, she had a promising career, to be
She had
quite
a very
honest.
promising career,
You
right?
know,
And then,
but
we
she was
saw
led
what happened.
astray. She was led
Yeah,
astray.
led very much astray.
You know.
And so that has come out, and so yes, so here's like the key thing. So I talked about Amanda Bynes and
Mhm.
being coerced into emancipating from her parents. The Drake Bell character, everybody's talking about Drake Bell.
Mhm.
I can't remember the show he's on, but he was a young man who was big on one of the Nickelodeon shows, and he sounds like he got it the worst in terms of the most severe. Like every nasty thing a pedophile can do looks like it happened to him, and
Yep.
it's sad because another again the person who was abusing him was kind of like a guy, like he was like an acting coach or a guy who kind of brought people on set. Like I would call him a production assistant, but supposedly he did acting coaching as well.
Mhm.
But pretty much Drake Bell's father was, very involved. He was his manager. He was on set, and he saw certain things as the same man. He was like, "What are you doing? Like, why you don't need to dress him? He can dress himself. Like, just doing inappropriate things." And the dad was involved, and eventually this predator drove a wedge between Drake Bell and his father, who was very involved in protecting his son. He was
Mhm.
on set and he was there. Like, he actually did have a watchdog,
Right.
a real active parent protecting their child, right?
Mhm.
And again, this person drove a wedge in saying, "Oh, people on set don't like your dad. He's holding you back. You're not getting roles because of your dad." Blah 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 blah. So he drove a wedge between him and the dad, and then around that time, the parents got a divorce. So because
Mhm.
the parents got a divorce, and the dad kind of lived closer to set, but after the divorce and all this, feeding nonsense and negativity from his predator, Drake Bell went and lived with his mother. His mother was not as involved in his acting life. So, and she lived like an hour and a half away from where they usually did the filming and auditions, right?
Mhm.
And so this predator now finds his opportunity and starts, "Okay, don't worry, I'll pick him up and drop him off. Oh, it's an hour and a half. He has to sleep
No.
over. Yeah, hour and a half. He has to sleep over. Blah 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 blah." And now your son is like getting
Right.
every which way up type of pedophilic molestation, right?
Jesus.
And so it wasn't until here's how the bad kid came out, which was interesting. And again, the parental neglect is what really, it's like I almost feel like the neglect from a parent like is just as bad almost as the predator. I hate to say it because it's like who, like, just like I told you,
Yeah. Mhm.
why would I let my son sleep over this man's, who is this man?
That's what I'm trying to say. And so this is straight pimping. Like, and when, the shit hits the fan, obviously the parents want to, distance themselves from having any responsibility. And
Mm,
you can see that time and time again, it's a very subtle action that you as a parent are uncomfortable with. So why would you return? Why would you come back? It's because you want the fame. You want the child to have
hmm,
the money. You want, so
yep.
because if let me tell you something. If I see anybody trying to dress my child, there's
Mm,
a feeling in a parent that instinctively is to protect,
hmm,
right? So the fact that he was there and he was the watchdog and he was saying,
hmm,
"Hey, he can dress himself. We ain't
hmm,
coming back.
mm,
We ain't coming back."
mm.
Okay? Because my soul didn't sit well with that. You know what I'm saying? And so, no, I'm not leaving you alone. No, we're not going back. No, it's not that serious. You know what I mean? No, I don't need for you to provide for our entire family. No. Don't put your child in a situation, right, where they can be abused. That's what I'm trying to say. As a parent, it's your responsibility that if you feel uncomfortable about something, why would you even return? Why is it that important? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's,
Mhm.
listen, they can make their movie. Go get some other kid.
Or
You know?
another alternative, I think, and that would have even broader impact is go to the higher. Like I know it's all a machine, like you said. Everybody's in. Well, we know everybody's almost kind of in cahoots,
Yeah, right down
but
to the parents.
but another thing is you'll be loud. Be like, why be loud and go to everybody and every
Right?
parent on set and every manager on set and be like, why is this guy like dressing the kids? These are not
Right?
like 2 year olds, and even if they were 2 year olds, like this is like their
If
parents.
it doesn't feel right, it isn't. If it
Exactly.
doesn't feel right for your child, it's
Yeah, it
not.
isn't. So that's what I'm saying. He should have made noise. Don't like he was observing this himself
Well,
and being
I
a
think that the
watchdog.
loudest noise that you could make is never to return.
Yeah, but then what about everybody else that's still there? You know what I mean? Like he
Well,
still
I'm
needs.
sorry. The way that I see some of these child star actors, what happened to them? And that a lot of them never bounce back. A lot of them are cracked out. A lot of them, you
Yeah, I
understand
don't.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So what I'm saying is like, yes, take your kid, but also make
No,
noise.
yes, yes, no, of
Mhm.
course. You don't just take your kid and run. No, obviously. I'm going to
Mhm.
kick down the door and everybody, I'm bringing the news. I'm going to social media. Yeah, of course. I'm going to make a lot of noise. And I think the loudest noise that I can make is to also leave,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Like I
Yeah.
need to leave because
Hmm.
why would I stop the role? People are going to wonder. People are going to speculate, and along with me kicking down the door and bringing the news to the, if I have to bring them to the set, I would.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I just feel like a lot of people, I don't want to put it all on the parents. I think that the parents are the fund, like they're the foundation,
Yeah.
and that they should protect their child over anything.
Yes.
However, these pedophiles, and what I've realized with Hollywood is abuse people.
Yeah.
Because this person, particularly the one that was dressing the little boy, where did he get that from? Like I feel like it there's a foundation to it. Like that guy who was, the stagehand or the production
Yeah.
assistant or whatever, he might have been abused.
Yeah.
And now
Well,
he's
he said.
abusing
Well,
others.
he was caught like so, because he was the most egregious one. If you ask
Mhm.
me, there's another story with a young lady where, the person I think he was the speech coach or something like that,
Mhm.
where he was talking to a 10-year-old girl. And the mom came on, and I appreciate the mom acknowledging her stupidity, and that's in that so she was an acting coach and he asked for the young lady's email.
Mhm.
So she didn't think there was anything wrong. First red flag, but she didn't think there was anything wrong with the grown acting coach or whatever emailing her daughter back and forth. She thought that was
I don't know how.
and so she did feel dumb. She's like, I felt like, at the time I didn't think it any harm, but so eventually one time the little girl slams down her laptop and runs into her room crying, and the mom is like, what the heck? And goes to ask her what is the problem, and the girl said the man sent her a photo of himself naked, maybe touching himself, I can't remember, saying that he's thinking of her. How could he be so bold to
Right?
send a 10-year-old that and
Well,
think that
the
they're
mother,
gonna
it's almost like the mother gave the approval though.
but the mother said
Because you're not you want to contact her, no problem. I'll give you an email address. I'm gonna give you mine. I'm
mine,
gonna give you
right?
mine. Here's my
And
email address. Okay, yeah, you can connect with me. I'm her manager. You don't go through her. You don't talk to her. Or you talk to me. So I'm just like, I understand that there might be situations that are innocent, but you should be very skeptical to leave your child with anybody.
mhm,
You should be skeptical of what your child is ingesting, what they're taking in, what who's emailing them. I don't know. I come from the old school, you hear? Where my mother knew everybody. She knew their mother. She knew what school the child went to, what grade they were in, what's their name, how old they are. She knew the full 411. My mom was in the parent council right through high school. So she knew things before I even knew them. And
mhm,
so you have to take an active role in your child's life. And I think that Nickelodeon is showing that a lot of parents didn't. And there were
mhm.
some parents
They were
that,
blinded by the fame or potential
well, that's
fame.
what I'm saying. How could you not see that? How
Mm,
could you think that's innocent that a grown man wants to communicate with your child
mm,
by themselves? Why? You go through me. Just like how you would set up a play date, you go through the parents, right? So why would you like? I just, But anyway, I think that this year, boy, it's the year of truth because everything is coming out and exposed, and I feel like more and more of my childhood is just tainted now because because it's like with Nickelodeon. I used to watch Nickelodeon at one point when I was younger. Do you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And so it's just to know what was all going on behind the scenes that we as the consumer didn't really understand, that these young child stars were literally giving their lives and their
Yeah.
souls
Okay.
to
So, what I was gonna say is, okay. So the show that the young man was on was Drake and Josh. Then, of
mhm
course, we know of iCarly. There's a show called Victorious. All that was another one where I think Keenan and Kel were on that too. That was like their sketch comedy show.
mhm
The Amanda Show, which Amanda Bynes, and then Keenan and Kel.
mhm
So these are some of the big productions. And recently, if as we close out this section,
yeah
Keenan Thompson of Good Burger and Keenan and Kel, recently he's promoting his book. And he
mhm
was on Tamron Hall. And Tamron touched on it with Keenan. And of course, Keenan, sensitive, I guess, for him because it's his friends. And for him, he says, quote, "It's a tough subject. It's tough for me because I can't really speak on things that I never witnessed. All these things happened after I left, basically. Dan wasn't really on. Dan wasn't really on. Dan Schneider wasn't
mhm
really on Keenan and Kel like that. He got created by credit, but it was a different showrunner. So right off the
mhm
bat, I see this as he's distancing himself from all of this, and it could very well be true in that, yeah, this was a generation slightly younger than him that, this documentary is heavily featuring, right? But it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Or he's very sensitive, and even in his book, he dedicates a page to Amanda Bynes, in that, from afar he always admired her, and we saw that the whole world saw what Amanda Bynes kind of her fall from grace, I guess. I don't know
yeah
what you would call it, but you know and he was very emotional. I think
mhm
most of that interview, it almost seemed like he wanted to cry. So that's why I'm wondering, and I shouldn't put that on anybody. And he could just be very well touched and be like, "Wow, that could have been me," or like, "These are people I knew, and like they went through something so traumatic by people we're supposed to trust and who's supposed to help us, right?"
right
And I don't know, but it actually it clearly affected him a lot. And I mean, he's a human being, so not that he shouldn't be emotional, but I don't know. I just felt like there was something there, and maybe I'm reading more into it. But I'm gonna say, prayers up to these kids. But
yes, and
I'm
parents, please
really I'm looking at
don't ignore the
yeah.
signs, man.
Don't
Like,
ignore the signs, and I feel sorry. Don't get me wrong. I think some of them you could honestly but be naive, but like the woman I told you about the computer, she didn't say anything because she was embarrassed. She
yeah
was embarrassed because, oh my god, I like people are gonna think like she. It wasn't until after this happened she saw the stupidity of giving that man direct access, email access to her child,
yeah
and she was so embarrassed that people are gonna call her a bad parent that she didn't report the person. And it wasn't until the person got caught with other incidences that
mhm
she went to court to testify against.
wow
So she didn't advocate for her own daughter. It wasn't until a case actually came from another incident. He was doing this already,
mhm
with the young girls, and before that man got charged. And I can tell you right now, even the most egregious case, like with Drake Bell, where it eventually came out that what was
mhm
going on, the guy only got 16 months, and he
wow
fully molested, did
wow
everything to this boy. Yeah.
Jesus,
So parents, I don't know. I don't know. Prayers that protect the young ones, man.
right?
And all things that happen in dark shall come into light.
That's right.
And
That's
those
right.
who've done these things to ruin people's lives, they'll face
They
their
will face.
retribution.
Yeah, they will face the wrath. Don't you
Yeah.
worry. Uh huh.
So okay. So that
Yes.
was quite on the set. Yeah, me personally, I don't
I'm
want to
not
watch
watching
it.
it. No.
I don't
Mm-mm.
want to watch something where I know, because what is the good? What is the we talk about we want to end on a good note.
Mm-hmm.
The good note, what is, like, yeah, we're exposing them, but you guys are exposing them. I think this is 20 years too late.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what bothers me. It's like, yes, it's out and they're doing that, but what my hope is, as we're doing this, that parents, maybe the parents that are naive and not actually pimping their kids out, the parents who think people have the best interest for their kids, uh, you be vigilant with anybody who has their child in entertainment or any type of thing where other
Yeah.
adults are involved in their lives outside of home.
Yeah.
Yeah, be vigilant and be on guard for your child, because your
Yeah.
child doesn't have sense enough to know what's going on and
No.
tell you anything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Be
yeah.
aware. Be
Mhm.
aware. Be aware of your
Mhm.
surroundings, of the people around you. The inappropriateness. Don't just shrug it off. Like,
Yes,
it's
please. Oh
important to
my
pay
god.
attention to it because it leads to other things. Like this example, it was
Mm.
just an email address.
Yeah, so sad.
You know?
So yeah, we'll move on. Prayers up to
Yeah.
the kids from those shows and the young
Yeah.
people who are now adults. And I'm thinking of Amanda Bynes. Recently made an announcement that she's getting her license, I think, as an esthetician, as a nail tech. And if that's where she finds her peace and worth, we have to work to have worth, right? And if that's what she's working towards, to have a living for herself, kudos to her.
And my question is, where's the hell her money? Where's her
Well, we know
money?
that parents thief out for money.
You see it? Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we'll move on to our next story, which is about social media personality and stand-up comedian and sometimes actress Amanda Seales,
Yeah.
your Grenadian cousin.
Yeah.
And so she, last week, she made a video on her Instagram page,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I can play it here, but essentially she talks about, she goes onto social media saying that she's appreciative of her followers on Instagram and social media,
Mm-hmm.
but she doesn't feel recognized within black spaces in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
She goes on to say that she has not been invited to the Essence Black Women in Hollywood Awards, the NAACP Image Awards that were on recently, and the
Mm-hmm.
BET Awards. The BET one was like, whoa, for me, because she hosted the BET Awards online and through Zoom from her home, I believe in 2020 when we were on lockdown. And
Mm-hmm.
she said since hosting that show, she has not been invited to any BET Awards.
Can you
And I
imagine?
was like,
Back
ouch. Like,
foot.
I mean, even if so, a lot of, and the backlash kind of came, and and she kind of finished that video saying, go where you're loved. And it's making me think, do I need to pivot, like, from the entertainment industry, right? And so that's kind of like the tone of the video. And I think following that, a lot of people obviously were trying to encourage her and stuff like that. But there's also people who kind of came back and are like, "Girl, like, you have to blame yourself," because I think it's crazy. I think even Essence was positive on the post, but then
Mm-hmm.
somebody from Essence wrote an op-ed, editorial opinion on why this might be the case with Amanda, and it's essentially saying it was actually pretty crazy that Essence posted this,
Wow.
because they were so, they're sympathetic to her
Mm-hmm.
on, like,
Her
um
plight with the
yes, and
industry. Mm-hmm.
they were sympathetic to her in the post,
Mm-hmm.
but then, like, then they go and do an op-ed. I mean, whoever runs a social media could be different who. This is an op-ed, so that means it's an independent person who wrote it. And the headline of that from Essence was, "It's time to admit that it being liked is more important than being good at your job. And big picture of Amanda Seals at the top of the page. I was like, God.
Yep.
Um, and okay, so let's say, like, yes, Amanda is a very polarizing figure. There, because she's very vocal, she's
Mm-hmm.
very opinionated, she's very sharp the way she speaks, and she's been described as a mean girl by folks. And I think I don't know if we talked about this, but remember back when she was on Insecure, and there was an incident when she was at an Emmy award, and they were having a black party, I think,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of the black people or
Yeah.
actors and stuff in
Mm-hmm.
industry were there, and she was invited by somebody who was at the party. She wasn't officially invited, but she's like, somebody told her to come through, and she didn't think it was going to be an issue because the year before she came through, no problem, and she
Right.
got pretty much kicked out of the party because the person who was Issa Rae, one of the people who were, like, I guess, involved in the planning was Issa Rae's publicist, and Issa Rae's publicist does not like Amanda.
Right.
And basically, long story short, can you imagine it? The embarrassment that she got kicked out of the party where most of her castmates were at. That was
Yeah.
wild.
She didn't but she got escorted out.
She got it was,
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty wild, and she was brave to come online even tell that story, but the story was probably gonna come out anyway.
Yeah.
But and so and I'm trying to think how I feel about this. I think, again, I do feel, at the very least,
Mm-hmm.
damn, BT, she hosted the show one day, give her at least one invite. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? At least one invite. Like, find the Hollywood circles, but this is says the Hollywood circles don't really F with you. They don't mess with you.
No, she's too. You know what? To be in Hollywood, you have to be agreeable, and she's not. And I like Amanda Seals because she is very much, she goes against the grain, and
Yes,
and
yes.
I
We need
can totally
people. We need
appreciate.
people like that.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that because
Hmm.
that's real.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to agree. Not everybody is going to fall in line. And she's one that does not fall in line. And she speaks up on Black issues. And
Hmm.
to be quite honest, she's very much an activist for the Black community.
Yes.
And
Yep.
what's sad is that she's not being upheld by the Black
Mm.
community because she's
Mm.
not liked. And at
Mm.
times she's very contrary. She's very contrary on
Mm.
a lot of things. And so
Mm.
sometimes, you know, I know, don't get this wrong, don't get this wrong, but you have to go along to get along sometimes. You know what I
Mm.
mean? If you want to explore this acting, I'm not saying that you should be used and abused and dashed way, but in the same breath, I feel like she's very contrary and very vocal to the point where sometimes it's like, okay, it's not, you don't have to protest today. Okay, you didn't like the muffins, you thought we shouldn't have black muffins or chocolate muffins, whatever. Like, you have to fight your battles. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Choose your battles wisely. And I think that sometimes Amanda doesn't, she's at times very crass and very like in your
Mm.
face. And so not a lot of people, can deal with that, and so we see in the industry, I think you should pivot. I think what you should do is focus on what you really are passionate about, and that is being an activist for the Black community, even though said community, okay, is not accepting you into these different spaces. And I understand that, I would be definitely kind of devastated that not only did I, host BET during the pandemic in my house, but you can't give me no damn invitation. You have never invited me back since.
Right? At
So,
least so it doesn't look so bad. That's all I'm saying. Like, maybe, you know what I mean?
but that
And
seems to be a lot of the reception that people are getting from her.
yes, and I was gonna read.
Right.
Okay,
So there must be, like, not everybody's wrong. Do you know what I'm
not
saying?
no, no. There's clearly,
There's
and
a
even
commonality here,
he
and
was
that
even
is
a.
that you're very
Mhm.
crass at times. Like, you're very, too in your face. Like, there's sometimes a softer way to deliver the same message, and sometimes you have to be out there and stuff. But I'm seeing a pattern here, Amanda, and that
Mm.
is that a lot of people don't want to mess with you. And why? Why?
Yes, and even me, I would have to say, following this, like, again, I know all these things that you have described to be true about her, but I still would hope. I would still would think there's some people who believe, like, appreciate the mouthpiece that she is, right? That will still kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
hold her down. Like, say Charlemagne, I know he tries, I know he holds her down. Let's just say it was an eye opener for me, but I think,
Mhm.
hopefully it seems like it was an eye opener for her as well.
Yeah.
And her follow up post, she turned off the comments and put it on her Patreon, but she said, she came back and said, like, all these things, and maybe it's time to look. I think, she it was so resounding that even she herself needs to internalize kind of the feedback, right? I don't know what
Right.
that post, what she says in her Patreon, but I do hope there's some, at least 20% acceptance of the fact that you rub people the wrong way, but it's like,
Yeah.
now
A
you've
lot
rubbed
of
it.
people,
It
bro.
now seems like it's too many people. Clearly,
Yeah.
there's
It's keep
nobody.
like you're blackballing yourself.
Yes,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? And
And
here's the
so,
thing though, I want to mention this
yes.
before we go off of this topic. You see, as a black woman, here's the catch 22. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I choose to stand with Amanda because she does speak so
Yes.
highly of the black community, and she is one of the pillars, to be quite honest, in this day and age that tries to uphold the black community.
She calls out the bullshit.
She really does. Like, to be
Mm.
quite honest, I'll give her a whole buck for that. However, Amanda, sometimes the delivery, I think that's where you need to perfect that, is the delivery, because there have been people before you who have done the same thing you're doing and have had long longevity in the business. Okay, and so like Viola Davis, I always refer to her because
Oh yeah.
she speaks the same for the black community, yet she's still in Hollywood, and she's still able to act and her craft and develop her craft and stuff. And so I can appreciate, that Amanda has this opinion and she's trying to protect us as black people. However, it's the delivery, Amanda, and you might want to reevaluate the delivery. That's all I'm saying, because sometimes you're not always going to rub people the right way, but it seems like you've rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. That's what it seems like.
So I'm
Okay.
going to read.
Yeah.
So a couple, before we move on, in which maybe this is what she's been sitting with. So there's a tweet here from Josh. You tripping? I hate when people like Amanda Seals that live their lives as provocateurs, rubbing people the wrong way, start acting surprised that people don't rock with them. You're annoying and no one wants to be around you. Don't blame black spaces for your bad personality. Ooh,
Wow.
there's some people on her side can't believe the NAACP didn't invite Amanda but invited abusers. Point was made. And so from the op-ed from Essence was written by, I have to read it because I was like, Jasmine Broly. And what they said, it says, there are a lot of traits Amanda Seals' name conjures up when I hear it. The aforementioned adjectives that define likability don't make the cut. Yikes.
Mm-mm.
Using her sizable digital platforms, Seals consistently provokes uncomfortable yet necessary discourse about everything from the Palestinian Israeli conflict, misogynoir, racism, colorism, gender identity, and foreign policy, to more personal topics like dating fuckboys and navigating the tricky industry social circles. She's a self admitted, she But in her captivating storytelling, she has almost become a professional polarizer. Remember, people, I use that word,
Mm-hmm.
polarizing figure. For instance, during her engaging interview in the 2019 at the Breakfast Club, Seals reshared an experience she had with a unnamed man that she initially spoke about
Mm-hmm.
on a podcast and implied that the man had predatory behavior. We know that story. I know that story. But anyway, yes, Seals is clearly influential, but she herself has said she isn't liked by certain industry gatekeepers, and clearly she noticed its effect on certain professional milestones. So I'm going to stop there because I think that's kind of what we've all explained, but it's kind of biting. It's like a
Yeah.
professional. It's not an attack on her, but it's kind of like, when like just like me, say you're like, I'm talking to you and I'm venting a grievance that I'm having
Mm-hmm.
with you, and you listen like a good friend, as a good friend would, but you stop me and you hit me with some straight facts on my behavior that maybe I didn't notice or I'm unconscious of, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to sit there with that. And I
Yeah.
think this article does that. Again, it's not trying to slam her, but it's
Right.
just pointing out facts. And I hope, excuse me, and it seems that Amanda is sitting with that right now. Yeah,
Well, you know what? I think you will be okay with
yeah,
whatever you put your mind to, Amanda. But you do have to consider, sometimes as the messenger, how to deliver the message appropriately and where people will hear you, you know? So, like, I get it, but I think maybe it is time for her to pivot and do something else, maybe along the lines of activism. How about, that?
yeah.
Stay in that
Or
space.
even her stand up. I think she's actually a solid stand up comedian. I think she's a better comedian than an actress, to be honest.
We'll see. Hmm.
And she does stand up, and I think she should just dedicate her time in
Doing
building it, because
that.
you could be an activist and you know what I mean. It's somewhere where
Yeah.
she could still be an activist and her and work on her craft, right? Just like when she's hosting the TV show or her podcast, it's something that you could still be an activist but still work. You know what I mean? Still make
Yeah.
money and be lucrative and share your message. So I do think she should focus on those things versus acting or whatever.
Exactly.
Not not
Exactly.
not to say that she shouldn't act, but I just mean like if you feel like there's a pushback and you're now you don't want to drain your soul pushing
Right?
against a machine. Like if
Right?
you can mend those, if you're willing to work on yourself and mend certain relationships, then that's one journey. But if you still are holding true to whatever it is that you feel you need to, or you feel you're standing true to, then focus on the crafts where you have control over your destiny.
That's right.
And it
That's right.
doesn't matter whether people are like, whether random people in the industry like you, your
Exactly.
fans like you, your fans are going to see you do stand up, your
Exactly.
fans are going to listen to your podcast or whatever else, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, she'll be all
Yeah, I
right.
think
So
so.
we'll move on until the trial. Boy, this Baltimore crash, this crash
Right?
in Baltimore into the Baltimore Bridge. A shipping boat hit the bridge, and London bridges came falling down. Boy,
Sure
it
did.
was
Sure
very
did.
tragic. A giant container ship struck the bridge in Baltimore earlier this week, and it collapsed the whole structure, sending
Jeez.
construction workers into water. There was some vehicles, not a lot of, it could have been more vehicles, but some vehicles were also, you know,
That fell
fell
into the yeah,
fell
that
into the
fell into
waters.
the water. Six
So,
people died.
yeah, they said 6 people have passed away, and considering that was a whole bridge,
Right?
that number is not as high as it could have. You know what I
It
mean?
could have
Like
been a lot higher.
it could have been worse. It's bad that anybody died, but yeah, it was the Singapore ship. It was a Singapore cargo ship that hit the bridge. It is 980 feet long and 150 feet wide, it says. And it
Wow.
had 22 crew members who are based in India.
Wow. It's gigantic.
Yeah, they said the
Gigantic.
ship is massive. Well, like shit, and it was the cargo was packed with cargo.
Yeah. To the
Um, s-
brim. To the brim. It was, yeah. Well, prayers up to all those people, that
mhm.
lost their lives and all the people that experienced that traumatic scene. Just being on the bridge, even if you were able to make it out of there alive, to just be a part of that really traumatic experience, and prayers up to them. And to be quite honest, I don't know how the hell the whole damn bridge fell down. The,
That's what was
the whole
concerning,
damn bridge fell
because I
down.
would feel like the side, from the video I saw, it's not like the boat was in middle of underneath the bridge. It was
Right?
like on one side of the bridge where it hit, but then it hit and like the whole thing came down. Like as somebody basic, architectural. Listen, I don't know nothing about architectural, but I know the purpose of architectural design is balance and sustaining weight and like like shapes and stuff to make sure that a structure is solid when it is hit, whether it's
Right?
a standing structure like a building or a bridge. Like the main goal that architecture and engineers are trying to do is to make sure we have a sturdy structure. And
Right?
to me, a sturdy structure would be the area where the boat hit. Yeah, that's gonna be
Right?
kind of fucked up. But like at least, and the bridge is probably going to be generally messed up either way. But at least one side of the bridge that didn't
Yeah,
have
right?
impact would have been okay. But the whole thing
The
looks
whole
like
damn
it
thing
came
came
down.
crumbling down. I was like, wow. I mean, I understand that, a lot of the states, their infrastructure is quite old.
Oh, well, here's okay. I just read there. Here's a reason why there was minimal, I guess, fatalities of people being on the bridge or cars. They said when the ship lost propulsion as it
Mm.
was leaving the port and warned Maryland officials of a possible collision because they lost. It looks like propulsion means probably power to push the
Mm-hmm,
boat.
mm-hmm.
So the crew notified officials that they lost control and traffic was stopped onto the bridge. So it looks like they knew, so they were stopping. So there was somebody went and stopped traffic. So maybe that's why there's only a couple of two or three cars, I
Right.
think,
Yeah. Because
that
the
were
way that
saying,
that whole damn bridge came down, I was like, Lord Jesus. If there were people on that, if there were
hmm,
more people on that, they're all in the water right now. They're dead. They're
well,
done.
well, they would have been, yeah, more fatalities because you know,
Mm-hmm.
so I think they're investigating kind of what's going on and keeping like the shipping. Well, we don't care about the shipping. We want to make sure that the people's families and stuff, and they figure out kind of like what to avoid that in terms of the boat, like whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is. And now the bridge is gone, so they're gonna have to reconstruct it. But and the bridge designers need to investigate like why the heck did this whole bridge come
Right?
down? Like damn.
And
So
when you see, there's a video that I saw on
yeah.
YouTube that was slow motion, kind
Mm,
of on how the bridge was coming into
mm,
contact with the bridge,
mm.
and sorry, how the boat was coming in contact with the bridge, and I was just like, brethren, that looked like a tin can crushing, just coming down so easy, quick, easy. Like,
Yeah, that's what was startling to me.
I was just like, wow, okay. I am glad that, they were able to avoid other people from being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to look into our infrastructure, Baltimore. We need to look.
Yeah, we
No,
need to look.
we need to look and do some, surveying of these bridges that you have about the place and stuff, because it literally looked like it crinkled like a can, like
Mm,
the bridge itself. Like it looked
yeah.
like it was just like it's not steel that's up there. You know what I mean? Like it just seems so flimsy. But prayers up to Baltimore, because that's gonna take a hefty budget to
Mm,
that will come out of your state, and so I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
It looks scary, man. I was
It
like, what
looked
the
really
hell?
scary.
And so also now all the cargo that's on there,
Yes, the
right?
cargo's like stuck.
And so it's gonna back up, you know, the rest of the area getting what they need. So
Mm.
prayers up for Baltimore right now, boy. They're gonna need it, boy, because that ship right there, that huge ass ship that was packed to the damn brim. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
like wondering. I was like, was this ship overpacked? Is that like nobody
Looked
said
like
that,
it.
but to me it looked kind of
It
overpacked
looked
to
like
me.
it. I mean, I'm no expert on shipping and stuff, but shoot.
Shoot. So
Right?
so okay, we're gonna move into our big story this
Yes.
week. Into our first segment, we're going to be doing music news in our next episode, and we'll talk about Cowboy Carter, of course, and I want to talk about
Yes.
Schoolboy Q. I've been waiting to talk about that as well, but that's next episode. So yeah, so we're going to go into our first and only segment today,
Yes.
which is a lot of mercy. In this segment, we talk about the kind of news that we feel the Lord might need to take the wheel. You read
Yes.
it or you hear it, and all you can say is a lot of mercy.
Jesus. Miss
And this week, of course, we're talking about the biggest celebrity news this
Right?
week, and that has to do with Mr. Sean Diddy Combs.
Done did it, Combs. Done did it. Ridiculous
Diddy did
Diddy
it.
Combs.
Diddy did.
Okay. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
we left love and we're back to Diddy because love, nah, this ain't
Nah,
no love.
not him. Nah.
um, and so, okay, so this week the big headline was Diddy's home was raided by Homeland Security investigations, and Homeland Security investigation is a federal bureau, so that's why people kept on talking about the feds. It's not the FBI, but it is a federal, I guess, unit that is
Yeah.
investigating, and obviously they'd have to be, the way they kind of swooped in, they probably had to have that kind of federal power to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so allegedly, so what has come out is that because even for me, I think this came out of left field, despite like the lawsuits and everything. Again, lawsuits are lawsuits to me, so I just didn't understand where this was coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so in excuse me, reading this, it says Diddy is being investigated by multiple agencies for alleged sex trafficking and sexual assault. So I think, you know the the lawsuits that have come out, namely
Mm-hmm.
from Cassie and from this Rodney guy,
Mm-hmm.
have outlined detailed ways in which Diddy is trafficking sex workers.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's I think where because I think there's so much details in the operation is in like how he's doing this. I think that's probably, you know what, this is all speculation to me, to be honest. I don't know. I personally need a little bit more concrete things, because
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
is like, to me right now, just he said she said.
That's right. Yeah.
And like for me, Cassie was like a viable witness because we saw Diddy
Right?
with Cassie for 10 years. We
10
saw
years.
Cassie walking around like a pet for 10
Right?
years. Some of the things that Rod has said that's related to trafficking, that, people are talking about why they're possible. This is all hearsay, but like this is just what's circulating in the celebrity news world. Is, yes, I first mentioned the sex trafficking, which,
Mm-hmm.
if he's moving hookers around, okay, that's technically legally, sex trafficking, as well as the drugging of sex workers or whoever he has, whatever paid hooker he has.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing that is considered in the a trafficking thing. And another thing is he's trafficking potentially drugs, and that he has people who works for him, whether it was that producer guy Rodney, or
Mm-hmm.
his kept women, Young Miami came up,
Mm-hmm.
and other names that we're familiar with. That these women that he supposedly dates, Lil Rod says they are actually paid prostitutes. Okay, that, by the dictionary term, I can go with that. Yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because just like Cassie had like a 200,000 or 250,000 payroll, you're with the man because he's paying you. You're a prostitute.
Well,
But I know
that
well, there's a fine line. Actually,
no, she called no, not with her, not with Young Miami. She called herself a whore.
she's proud. She's proud. I saw the
Okay,
clip. I saw the clip. Like
so she went on
she's
Big
proud of it.
Breakfast Club and called herself a whore.
It wasn't
So
Breakfast Club. It was what's his name? Hollywood Unlocked with what's his
okay,
name?
oh Jason Lee,
Jason
that's
Lee.
right.
Jason Lee.
My
Yeah.
bad. But it, Jason Lee's platform is so huge. You're gonna go on there and call yourself a whore for real?
Yeah. So there was
Okay.
some. That's the
Well, yeah,
difference between.
obviously you're a whore if you're sticking around for 200,000 a month.
Yeah. So
You're
that's what I think.
a high priced whore. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, when I heard, sorry, I just want to say something about
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
particularly.
Go ahead.
When I heard that she was getting $200,000 from Diddy, I said there's way more than her being a whore. It's
Hmm.
way more that she's
Yeah,
doing
it's
to
just too
bring in
much. It's like
more.
you're paying. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm sorry. Diddy doesn't need to pay for horse. He
Mm.
doesn't need to.
Good point.
He really doesn't need to. Okay,
Hmm.
if he can hold down people like Cassie for 10 years, he knows how to find horse. He knows how to find people that he can use. So he
Yeah.
doesn't need to pay 200,000. So miss me with it. I knew right then you have something to do with this trafficking. You
Mm.
have something to do where you're bringing bodies to him. That's why you're making $200,000 a year, or sorry, a month, not even a year, a month. So, and she was with him for a while, so I already knew from get go. But yeah, not to interrupt you, but
Hmm.
I wanted to mention that because there's no way that Diddy would actually pay her. I want to say her because look at Diddy's track record. Young Miami doesn't fit it. Okay, if you look at all the women that Diddy
I
was
agree.
with prior to her, she didn't hit the mark. And at the time I was thinking maybe Diddy wants something different and he's trying to flip it up or switch it up, whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe she has some appeal. But then when I heard he's paying you $200,000 a month, I said, no, you're helping to pimp out. You're helping to traffic. So that's allegedly. We're still trying to find out. But
Yeah.
Young Miami was right throughout that case that Rod has
Yeah.
against
He does.
Diddy right now. So
Yeah.
she's right throughout that case.
She's detailed in she's detailed mostly in the carrying drugs for Diddy again, which would explain the high hefty amount that he's paying her off for, monthly, right? So, going back to yeah. So why, like, yeah, why? This is where I'm coming from. Is like, why did
Hmm.
this bureau get so like violently involved,
Aggressive. They're
aggressive? That's the
very
word. Why were
aggressive.
they so aggressive in this investigation where they tear up his home? They put handcuffs on the people who were in the home, which the adults in the home, which were his sons,
Hmm.
and maybe even him, I
Right.
believe. As they and I found out that they weren't under arrest or anything. That's just protocol, I guess, as they when these investigations happen. So it probably stops the people from going in to hide or do whatever it is they want to do, like right as they're trying to do
Hmm.
execute their search warrant in the home. Um, and which I again, it was just really to me personally.
Hmm.
Diddy, I'm sure Diddy clearly has done some dark stuff. Like that's not in question. That's like I'm not
Hmm.
questioning that at all. That's clear. But I just like a lot of people with power, a lot of men with power do this. A lot of men with power have hookers and
Yes.
drugs and all these things. So like where is all this where is this
I'll tell
aggressiveness
you.
coming
I'll
from?
tell you. So, because looking at this whole situation, when I found out that Diddy's home was raided, I
Mhm.
said, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I'll tell you why. First, Rod, in his complaint, in his lawsuit, he mentioned that Diddy had cameras in every room of his house. So, there are people who have attended Diddy's house, did not know they were cameras, carried on with nefarious things, are now
Mhm.
on camera, and now he has a way to bribe them or to extort them to get them to do what he wants them to do. So when Rod he blew the whistle on that, and
Mhm.
all of those people had to start wondering to themselves. And Diddy has rubbed shoulders with very high powered people. He's had judges lined pockets for judges and
Mhm.
prosecutors and all the rest. We even see in Cassie's case that she said he paid off a hotel, which is taking security footage. He paid off a whole hotel for their
Mm.
security footage.
Yeah, that
Okay,
was
so
crazy.
this
Yeah.
is nuts what we're talking here. This is next level type of shit we're talking here. So when the people found out that Diddy would possibly, oh, I went to Diddy's house and did all this nasty shit, I could have possibly been on camera, he could have a tape of me. These people came out the woodworks and said, oh, hell to the no. This Negro is not bringing us all down. And I think that this raid was so that they could access the information and delete or somehow retrieve the information out of Diddy's hands so he could no longer be able to hurt the people that are
Yeah,
higher up.
extort, kind of like Jeffrey S. Epstein. That was his thing.
That and
Is
those higher people don't want it to be known.
Yeah,
Okay,
of
look
course
at
not.
what's his name? Milk blah, blah, blah.
Meek Mills. Yeah.
Meek Mills. He's under so much fire right now for being Diddy's girlfriend. Okay, everybody's
Mm,
saying that he's his girlfriend and he was doing all sorts of things with Diddy and all sorts of things.
mm,
People are coming out from the woodworks with these allegations towards Diddy, and to be quite honest, not everybody is wrong. So yeah, the people who are really afraid of information being leaked or getting out into the wrong hands, and becoming, public knowledge, they wanted
mm.
to retrieve the information. So therefore, what do? We raid his house,
Yeah, that's a
right?
good theory. That's a
and
good
and
theory.
and not only do we raid his house, but we try to get him and his family in a position where they are not they can't combat any of the claims that are brought against them, and so you steer the direction to Diddy and his family and less on the people who are on those videotapes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that Cassie didn't just bust down the door. Okay, the floodgates opened up, and now here everybody and their mother. And there are people in Hollywood who, like Stevie J,
Mm-hmm.
has we've all had speculation that Stevie J was maybe, some sort of homosexual, or he was bisexual or whatever. And now
Mm.
it's all coming to light. Stevie J's name is brought right throughout that. Meek Mills is brought, what is it? Downey Jr., his name right throughout it. So these people are all, if you
No, oh
notice,
yeah, Cuba
Cuba
Gooding Jr.
Jr., right. So if you notice, they're all black men. But Diddy
Mm-hmm.
had more than just black men at those
Mm.
parties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's just call it a buck. So those high powered people are making sure that whatever information that they want to be kept secret is kept secret. And I said before, the only way that Diddy is ever going to stop is if he's in a jail. Okay? He needs to be underneath a jail at this point. Okay? Now his sons are being handcuffed. This man even had the nerve to bring his adult sons down this rabbit hole of sin. Okay? And so, to be quite honest, I when I heard that this happened, it didn't surprise me. Okay? When you have the type of people that Diddy has, behind him, that he Diddy thought he had too much damn power. Let's just
Yeah.
call it a buck. Okay? The white people made him think that he was more powerful than he was. And the second that he stepped out of line, yeah, now look.
Yeah, so that was another thing I had in my notes. It's like this the Diageo case. Remember he went after Diageo earlier this well, like last year, and
Mm-hmm.
I think actually not last year. They said May. He put the lawsuit was filed in May 2022 in against them, like, for his Ciroc brand and De Leon
Mm-hmm.
tequila. And then after when Cassie, it's so crazy. The Cassie thing feels like it was just yesterday, but it was November. And so after the Cassie thing, you remember he was trying to clean up his business because he needed to protect his assets. So he dropped the lawsuit against Ciroc, or Diageo, in January 2024. Right. And so, but who knows? Diageo, remember, this is a global company.
Thank you.
So I was like, is Diageo like saying you're wretch you?
Right?
You tried to ruin our legacy,
Watch me now.
right? So I think there's a lot of things, but here's kind of how. Again, Diddy is clearly a bad person. I'm not caping for Diddy, but I have a huge problem with this in the double standard, because really, as a rich powerful man, he is not the only man doing
Nope.
this. If you're working with sex workers, these are consenting adults. Like the stuff that he did, to the things that he's been accused of in the lawsuits, yes, those are bad things, and we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cassie got all the justice she could get, based on the statutes of limitation. And Lil Rod, I don't know. I think to me, Lil Rod is a little sketchy to me. I'll be honest, but that's my point of view. But we'll see. Again, if he did those things or whatever, then retribution, whatever that means,
Mm-hmm.
should happen. And a question I have is, if Diddy paid Lil Rod, right? Like, so the
Mm-hmm.
issue, Lil Rod was pissed at Diddy because he worked heavily on this
Yeah.
this last album that Diddy did, which was a very beautiful album actually.
Mm-hmm.
And his complaint was Diddy didn't pay him. And I hope, is Diddy continue with his bad business behaviors with his artists. If he paid this man whatever they agreed or whatever was owed to this person, would this lawsuit have come about?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because he would have blackmailed Diddy.
Hmm. Well, that's not good though.
No, it's not. But neither is knowing that Diddy is. You know what really gets me is that all
Because
of flipping Hollywood knew what Diddy was about.
that's what's bothering.
Everybody
Oh
and their flipping
yes,
mother knew what Diddy
here's
was about.
here's
So
my
why
pet
would you
peeve.
go and work with him?
Right? But here's my pet peeve. Yeah, like, because he's known for bad business. Forget about all the freaky shit.
Yeah.
He business wise, like, people, his artists have been, money has been a big issue with the artists that have worked with him, right? So that was already a red flag already, right? But here's another thing, you bring up a point that's pissing me off with this whole thing, is that people coming out with their Diddy sexual inappropriateness stories
Yeah,
now.
everybody's on the bandwagon now.
No, no, don't be on the bandwagon now.
Well, yes.
So
Everybody
from
know. Mm-hmm.
No,
That's
I don't
all it
like
is.
that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, because
I don't like it
there's
either. I don't like
that
it
there.
either.
There's
Mm-hmm.
a black, there's a hip. Well, I call it hip hop, but maybe not. But there's a black culture writer named Torre. He works at the Griot now. He has his own podcast, but he was a Rolling Stone writer. Rolling Stone writer is very close to every, and he covered the hip hop stories at Rolling Stone. He might have even been at a Vibe, but whatever. Big hip hop culture writer, Torre,
Mm-hmm.
and he was on the Joy Reid story show outlining a story for a family member of his. I'm assuming it's like a younger cousin or nephew, but who knows? He says a male family member.
Mm-hmm.
He called Diddy and asked for a hookup for his male family member to get an internship. And Diddy was like, yeah, cool. Then the boy, 4 months later, he left the internship, right? And he never knew. He was like, "What the heck?" He asked the
Mm-hmm.
boy. The boy never said nothing. Like, he never told Tori why the internship ended so early.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until a little bit later, a year, a couple years later, where the person told Tori that Diddy had told him, the intern, the young man, to come over to his house and sleep with him or something to that effect.
Right?
Something
Yeah.
insinuating
Yeah.
some type of something at his house.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy said no, and that's when the internship ended, and it was like, then he was like, cut him off or whatever. So I'm like, again, this story would have been much more powerful
Right?
if you, and one Tory was big in the culture, that could have been maybe more than 10 plus years ago this happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what yeah, and again, maybe because we did find out from Cassie's story that Diddy is actually scary. Like, as much as we took him as a joke,
Right?
he's actually a scary, like, he's as bad as scary as Suge Knight in different ways, right?
Wow.
And so maybe, I don't know if that's why, but like, I'm sorry, I can't, like, I'm like, what is that, man? What am I supposed to do with that? Me personally.
And that's how I feel about Rod. That's how I feel about him coming out now. And here's the thing: is that he would not have said anything if he got
He
paid.
got paid.
Okay,
That's another thing.
and so let's just, like you said, let's put the nastiness aside from the
Yeah.
business aspect,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You literally just did this album. Diddy has
Mhm.
been doing music for more than 30 years.
About 30
almost.
years. Yeah, more than 30
Okay,
years.
so that means to say you have enough time to see how he treated other people in other business. You've heard the rumors, you've seen it, you are in the industry, so you hear the whispers. So miss me with the bullshit. You went along thinking that, oh, you're going to get all this notoriety, you're willing to sell your soul to Diddy, okay? And what happened was you got used, abused, dashed away, and you didn't even get paid for it. And so now you're coming out with all of your, my thing is, what made you say to yourself, let me start recording, let me start pulling evidence together? Why did you do that? You did that because you felt used and abused and that you weren't going to get paid for what you did. That's why you started to collect information. That's why you started to access videos or taking videos or whatever you were doing. You did
Mhm.
that so that you had something to call him out on, so that you could blackmail him. That was the straight truth. But you saw that Diddy was very powerful, and the only time to stop Diddy is if you go to the public.
Mhm.
That's how you stop him, is you expose him. So you had to go all in. Okay, you had to go all in. You probably even had to go under protective custody or something, because, like, Diddy is crazy. He's crazy. He blew up a flipping car outside of Kid Cudi's house. So who are you to him?
Mm.
He's been doing this
Right?
longer than you've been doing it. So trust
Mm.
me, so this is why you had to go that length. And once you did, you set off an alarm for all those people who ever went to Diddy's house, not knowing if they're on camera, not
Mhm.
knowing, and those who do know they're on camera no longer want to be, you know, a slave to Diddy
Yeah.
when it pleases him.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah, everybody and their mother, okay, was wanting to get their hands on those tapes. So yeah, I can see why the National Guard had to come in. I see why, everybody and their mother was storming his damn houses. Okay, uh, you know, I understand why, and everybody wants to take him down now. But here's the thing: in order for them to put this man in jail, they had to come up with something other than adults having sex. So the
yes.
sex
Yes.
trafficking, the drug trafficking, one of his mules by the name of
Mm.
Brendan Paul was
Mhm.
arrested, okay, at the Florida airport. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and we see many, many pictures and times where him and Diddy are best of buddies in pictures and things. So we can see that he was his mule, and he got caught, and he sang like a canary.
Mhm.
Okay? And so most people will, right? Most people will, because he's the biggest menace, right? And so I think that they have to put those type of charges on Diddy to really get him put into jail, because sex trafficking, especially of minors, and this is all allegedly. I'm gonna say allegedly,
Yeah.
allegedly, at least 3 times. Okay, we don't know for sure, but I'm telling you right now, they're not going in to raid your house if they don't have something.
yes. Yeah.
They
This is a
have to have
federal.
something for a
Yes.
judge to sign off, right? First of all, they have to find a judge that is not getting his pockets laced by Diddy.
Mm.
Okay. And then once they find that judge, they have to get him to sign off on raiding this man's multiple properties, not just one, multiple properties. So, yeah, there has to be some factual stuff behind this. And I think between Cassie and Rod, they have all the facts. So I'm telling everybody out there, be prepared. Be prepared that he will go to jail. He will go to jail because he is now a sacrifice
Mm.
for the bigger
That's what it.
heads
To
above
be
him.
honest, that's what it looks like. Because this is all seemed very aggressive. I was like, what
Yeah,
the
they're
heck?
gonna sacrifice him because you're too messy now, Diddy. You're too messy now. You can't have judges that you're lining pockets, and police officers and hotels and all sorts of people that you like, private investigate, like you're so deep
Mm.
in
Yeah.
it.
He definitely got a little. He definitely.
He got
Listen,
carried away with it, and
based on the
now,
stories, he
yeah,
was
you're gonna get set.
egregious. He
Yeah,
was very
now you're the
egregious.
lamb. Now you're the sacrifice, Diddy. And trust me, they'll sacrifice you before they sacrifice themselves. And this raid showed me that once Rod said what he said, everybody was like, "We need those tapes. We need those tapes. We need to make sure those tapes don't see the light of day." Okay, so you know, here's the thing, Diddy. I don't feel bad for you.
No. You got
And I
messy.
don't feel bad for your sons, because I've learned in the last few days now that his son Justin has been very involved with the sex trafficking.
Yeah,
You
but
know that
if your
his
father,
sons,
if you,
yeah,
if your father groomed
they
you,
pulled them in, but they
Mhm.
stayed in. You know, like, these are not little boys that we're talking about here. We're talking about 25, 30. They stayed in. So, especially, with Justin, I know that his mother, her head is probably turning, because she said, Diddy, I'm fighting for my son. I don't care what happens to you. When he was caught driving drunk, okay, she said it then. She said, I don't care what happens to you, Diddy. I'm coming. I'm going to protect my son. And it's sad to see that he pulled his kids into this. And I really think that Diddy is going down. Just give it time. They're making a case that is not so air. It's not just about airtight, but it's about how much time can we get him. But I will say this: Diddy is the type of person where he will off himself before he goes to jail.
You think
That's
so?
Yep. That's the type of person he is. Because that type of power, to fall that far from that type of power, to know that you're going to go to jail, to
I
know
don't see.
what
I
all
don't
you've
see that
done.
because I don't see that. But like, of course, that you can have that opinion. But I also
I do
am
see that,
thinking of.
because
I'm
that would be
thinking.
his last moment of power. Like, you ain't putting me in no jail. Yeah.
I don't know.
So I you know I don't think that's
Well,
the way to
with
go. I
with
think you
all
should do
of
your
this,
time. But
yeah, with all of this, I'm just paying for his two little girls,
right.
Kim Porter's daughters, which
Oy
is his twins who don't have a mother, and he's their only parent. I'm hoping their older brother, which is Quincy, and I think he does kind of play that father figure for them anyway,
Mhm.
is wrapping them up. I think I saw there's pictures actually out with his twins, so he's leaning on the pictures of his kids and stuff right now to kind of soften the blow. I don't know,
Mhm.
but I mean, he was out with them recently. I saw photos, and
Right?
he's being a dad
Mhm.
right now until I guess the shit hits the fan.
Mhm. Well, it's starting to hit the fan. It's starting to hit the fan. You weren't as powerful as you thought, did he? You know what I mean? And I think that was his biggest downfall. Is for so long he got away with it. And what I want to do to end off my view on this Diddy situation is, Hollywood, you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, to be honest, all those people that are in Hollywood, I feel like you should be ashamed of yourself, because how the
Hmm.
hell do you allow this? You attended the parties, you see the people, you're allowing. There's been so many people in the last 20 odd years that has seen what Diddy has done and let it be. Didn't say a word. I understand he's dangerous, but right is right and wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
Diddy, you soon find a comfortable place underneath the jail, because they're coming for you, Diddy. You did too much. You're too damn messy, okay? And, the higher ups, the ones that you're the lapdog for, yeah, they're coming for you, because you're not going to ruin who they are. So, but anyhow, you know what? All in all, we try to end our episodes positively. But after Diddy, what's positive is that it's all coming to light. Everything is
Yes.
surfacing,
Yeah.
you know? And like you said earlier in the episode, that what is done in the dark will always come to the light. So there's a huge light shining on this. And
Spotlight.
up on this spotlight in the middle. You understand? And I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad that the whole entertainment industry on a whole is being shook up. It's being shook up. All of the predators are being outed. You know, a year of truth. It's a year of truth. And so, with that being said, we do hope that your hearts and minds were activated on this week's show. So, whether you lead with your heart or your mind, please stay passionate and thoughtful. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
Bye bye.